It's Monday, January 17th, 2011. In this week's BeakerBeat, the city by the bay hosts all the big players in the life sciences biz. It's the Super Bowl of the industry, and we have a complete wrap-up for you just ahead. Plus, squatters don't just occupy abandoned buildings. It's the latest social media obstacle for life sciences companies. And vaccines protect us from hundreds of diseases, but could a vaccine help alcoholics kick the habit? Find out coming up. All that and more on this week's edition of BeakerBeat. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice, thanks for tuning in. Well, earlier in the week, 49 of the 50 states in the Union had snow on the ground. You're probably in one of them. What better way to warm up than to head out to foggy, balmy San Francisco? Stay with me on this. While the weather may not be San Fran's selling point, the J.P. Morgan Healthcare Conference is. This year's 29th installment of the annual event was held this past week, drawing an estimated 15,000 executives, bankers, analysts, researchers, scientists, and investors. That's about a 20% jump in attendance from last year, a clear sign that the economy, at least for these folks, is rebounding. The packed halls, meetings, and conferences generated an energy and buzz that is rarely matched in the life sciences industry. From landing deals to landing a job, this event annually creates a big stir in the biz. One of the big topics of discussion was healthcare reform and the impact on the industry. It seems most executives are fine with it. For example, Amgen CEO Kevin Scherer said his company will pay a fee of $150 to $200 million after tax. But the upside is that reform, quote, protects innovation and sets a framework for follow-on biologics that's fair, end quote. In layman's terms, that means he's okay with the fee in order to protect his company's patents. Another topic was the patent cliff issue. Most big pharma companies avoided it, but generics makers like Teva and Impax Labs spoke of it fondly and enthusiastically. No wonder. Then there is the drama aspect of this event. All eyes were on Sanofi Aventis chief Chris Viehbacher and Genzyme CEO Henry Termeer. People were looking for clues to the status of their potential merger, but as the Boston Globe reports, the two executives gave each other a wide berth, but separately noted that negotiations are proceeding. We'll have more on that later in the show. Of course, there were dozens of other topics and issues discussed. We'll have more on that on Beaker's blog and again here next week. So tell us what you think about this story or any story that you see in today's show. It's very simple. Click on the orange button below me. A box will pop up. Type in your comment. I promise I'll read and respond to every one of them. And when you're done watching BeakerBeat, check out Beaker's blog and find out what Medtronic's outgoing CEO Bill Hawkins thinks about the proposed changes to the FDA's 510(k) process. Plus, watch an interview with Merck's new top man, Kenneth Frazier. Those stories and more on Beaker's blog. Well, it wasn't that long ago when Twitter and Facebook were just fun ways to communicate with friends, find an old flame, or post pictures of yourself passed out naked on your college dorm lawn. Now everyone wants to be your friend. Finding those old flames was a mistake, and those pictures can get you fired. No wonder life sciences companies are nervous about jumping in. Ah, social media. How will you disappoint us next time? Here's a new potential problem with social networking that may surprise some companies. Name squatters. Device maker Meridian was victimized by a Twitter name squatter. Basically, someone not affiliated with the company created a Twitter account using its name, logo, and references to its website. Fortunately for the Cincinnati-based company, the squatter hasn't said anything inflammatory or crazy, has only 10 followers, and seems a bit lazy, with only 10 tweets in the last 6 months. Piece of advice: get your Twitter and Facebook accounts set up before someone does it for you. Also on the social media front, without FDA rules on using social media, Big Pharma is making it up as they go along. Pfizer has revealed internal guidelines for handling Twitter feeds, blog comments, and social networking. It's a decision-making flowchart that includes key points that put the company's PR staff into action. For example, the company has a don't sink to their level policy for those posting inflammatory, extraneous, off-topic information, or constant rants. The advice to employees is monitor only. But when blog posts get the facts wrong, Pfizer will respond with factual information. On the other hand, bloggers who post positive, truthful, agreeable pieces are supposed to get a direct response. Pfizer isn't the first big pharma company to employ this strategy. Roche published its guidelines in August. Now, you can count on this type of action until the FDA finally offers guidance. They plan to have something out to companies in this quarter. Don't hold your breath. Time for some quick hits now, and it's time to talk about shingles. No, not those shingles, Jeremy. Shingles, the virus, isn't curable, but a study found that Merck's Zostavax vaccine can cut a person's risk of developing the illness by 55%. It is the only shingles vax approved in the U.S., and now the CDC is recommending everyone older than 60 receive the vaccine. That could be a nice boost to Merck's profits. Shingles stems from the same virus as chickenpox, can develop later in life as a person's immune system weakens, and causes blisters and a throbbing pain in the skin's nerve endings. Sounds a lot like how it feels after replacing the shingles on my roof. With Sanofi Aventis' $69 per share offer for Genzyme set to expire January 21st, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the companies have resumed negotiations. Genzyme still thinks Sanofi's offer is too low and is underestimating the huge potential of its multiple sclerosis drug, Lemtrada, aka Campath. But since no one else is interested, Genzyme is talking to Sanofi again. The Wall Street Journal says the two sides are now discussing a contingent value right, or CVR, that would boost the offer for Genzyme up to $80 per share, or about $20 billion, if sales of Lemtrada meet certain sales and regulatory milestones. Keep it tuned here for the latest updates. Johnson & Johnson's recall mess is in the news again, but not for any new recall. The state of Oregon has sued J&J over that so-called phantom recall of faulty Motrin tablets, claiming the company's delay in starting an official recall put consumers at risk. The episode began in early 2009 when J&J hired private contractors to buy up Motrin from convenience stores and gas stations. The company didn't announce an official recall until February of 2010. The Motrin recall became an issue during public hearings about J&J's handling of its manufacturing problems. You can most likely expect to see more of these lawsuits, I'm sure. Dendreon plans to file an EU application for its prostate cancer treatment Provenge late this year or early next year. Dendreon plans to use the clinical data from its US BLA and will not need to conduct new trials. Initially, Provenge would be manufactured by contract, while Dendreon builds a facility in Europe. The company expects a regulatory decision in 2013. Last year, Bayer claimed it was moving into San Francisco's Mission Bay district to be close to the big biology brains at the University of California, San Francisco. Now the German pharma giant is diving further into the local life sciences cluster by striking a 10-year master R&D agreement with the university. Eli Lilly and Boehringer Ingelheim will collaborate on diabetes drugs. Lilly will pay Boehringer $387 million as part of the deal with the German drug maker. The plan is to develop diabetes drugs as Lilly is facing the expiration of some of its key patents. GlaxoSmithKline is paying $20 million up front and more than $630 million in milestones for a partnership deal with Cambridge, Mass.-based Epizyme. The biotech is developing drugs that target gene-regulating enzymes responsible for triggering diseases. Epizyme's original focus was cancer, but the company has since expanded its research to other disease areas. The deal announcement did not specify what therapeutic areas the GSK deal would target. Is Johnson & Johnson interested in Smith & Nephew? Shares of the UK-based company jumped after reports of an unsolicited takeover interest by J&J that valued the company at as much as $11.7 billion. S&N reportedly turned down that offer. The two are competitors in all the segments Smith & Nephew is present in, so the deal would make sense, but as Bloomberg notes, there could be some antitrust issues there, so some analysts think a deal is unlikely.
Alcohol. It goes great with virtually everything, including golf, corporate lunches, even church. It's usually fun, but for those who have an addiction, it's a constant battle. Now they may have help in that battle in the form of a vaccination.
Chilean researchers are developing a vaccine against alcoholism. It causes alcoholics to feel the effects of a hangover after just one drink, and it could be tested on humans starting next year. It works by neutralizing an enzyme that metabolizes alcohol, called aldehyde dehydrogenase. The vaccine, in a shot form, would cause feelings of unease, sweating, nausea, and accelerated heartbeat when alcohol is consumed. Sounds like a normal Tuesday afternoon to me. Anyway, this would in turn reduce the desire to consume alcohol. It would work like patches or pills that help smokers kick the habit, but with better efficiency by specifically targeting liver cells and avoiding collateral effects on all cells. The vaccine was tested in mice who were dependent on alcohol. They were able to reduce their alcohol intake by half after receiving the shot. This year, researchers plan to conduct tests on animals to determine proper dosage before launching human tests in 2012.
Now, if a shot doesn't work or it's too scary, there could be another option available soon.
A medication commonly prescribed as a muscle relaxant, chlorzoxazone, shows promise as a potential treatment for alcoholism. That according to a study in rats by researchers at the Ernest Gallo Clinic and Research Center and UC San Francisco. The FDA-approved drug significantly decreased alcohol consumption in rats that were, quote, heavy drinkers.
So there soon may be two options available for alcoholics. Now, alcoholic or not, going out on the town, there's always a price to pay when you have too much of this stuff, in the form of a hangover. But now there may be a way to fix that.
Here's one that seems to have an effect, though. Coffee and aspirin may really cure hangovers. Researchers at Thomas Jefferson University gave migraine-prone rats 1 drink's worth of ethanol to induce a headache and then treated it with caffeine and painkillers. That blocked the acetate, and suddenly the rat was ready for another shot of ethanol.
Of course, who's drinking ethanol anyway? That sounds like it belongs in your gas tank. I prefer my poison in bourbon form, thank you. Well, that's it for this week's edition of BeakerBeat. I'm Mike Justice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Sit, Beaker. Sit. Good dog.